He didn't mean for it to be that hard, Emily had said the night before, and now here he was on my porch, wine in hand, wearing that same easy smile like nothing had happened at all. "Richard, hey," he said, holding the bottle out like an offering. "Thought I'd swing by and see everyone. Emily said you two had a good talk." I kept my hand on the door, my voice flat, and even the way I'd learned to keep it in 32 years of meetings where the wrong tone could cost a bridge. "It's funding, not a good time, Derek," I said. "Emily and Noah are settling in for the night." His smile didn't move, but something behind his eyes did. A small recalibration. The look of a man checking whether his usual tools were going to work this time. "Come on, Richard," he said, lowering his voice into something warmer. Something meant to sound like family. "I know how it looked, the bruise thing. She's clumsy when she's tired. You know that I know exactly what I saw." I said. I did not raise my voice. I did not open the door wider. I stood in the gap he'd been given, and I let him understand without a single word. Wasted that the gap was not going to get bigger. He left the wine on the porch railing when he walked back to his car. And I watched his taillights all the way to the end of the street. Before I went back inside and locked the door, the next 4 days moved the way Martin had told me they would. Careful and fast at the same time. Monday morning, the investigator called. A quiet woman named Renata Osei, who'd spent 15 years building cases that held up in Virginia courtrooms. And she told me she already had 2 prior incident reports buried in county records, both closed as accidents. Both signed off by the same responding officer, who happened to golf with Derek's father twice. A month. Monday afternoon, Emily let me take her to her family doctor. Not because I asked again, but because Noah asked her first, in his small, careful voice. If the doctor could make her arm stop hurting, the doctor documented a spiral fracture healing wrong in her left wrist, 4 weeks old, and bruising in 3 separate stages across both forearms. Which meant 3 separate incidents, which meant this had never been one bad afternoon Tuesday. Frank sat with Noah again while I sat with Emily at my kitchen table, and she finally said the rest of it, all of it, 4 years of it, in a voice that got steadier the longer she talked instead of weaker. Like something in her was finding its footing again. After a long time off balance Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, I sat across from Martin again and laid it all out. The medical records, Renata's findings, the 2 buried reports. A recorded voicemail Derek had left Emily on Sunday night that any judge in Fairfax County would recognize immediately for what it was. Martin looked at all of it for a long time, and then he looked up at me and said the case wasn't just strong now. It was finished, and he could have an emergency protective order and a hearing on the calendar within 48 hours Thursday, 4 days after Emily's Civic pulled into my driveway. Martin and I drove to the house Emily had shared with Derek, papers in hand. A deputy waiting at the curb as a formality. Neither of us expected to need Derek open the door already talking, already reaching for that easy smile, and it fell off his face piece by piece as the deputy explained the order, as Martin explained the hearing. As I stood on his porch and watched a man who had spent years making my daughter small suddenly understand how small a single afternoon could make him. His mother came around from the kitchen first, and then his father from the garage, both of them talking over each other, both of them saying my name like it was an accusation. Like 4 days of quiet documentation was somehow the crime here. "Richard, please," his mother said, grabbing for my sleeve. "You don't understand. He's a good man." "He made a mistake, I understand completely," I said, and I did not raise my voice. Because I had learned a long time ago that the loudest person in the room is rarely the one who wins it. I drove home that evening with Emily in the front seat and Noah in the back. His backpack finally unbuckled, finally resting flat against the seat, instead of strapped tight across his chest like he expected to run at my house. I got out the old wooden blocks again, and set them up on the living room floor. And Noah built for almost an hour without once looking over his shoulder to check if it was safe to keep going that night. I stood at my garage shelf for a long time, looking at my father's fishing rod, Catherine's photograph, the little clay handprint Emily made when she was 6 years old. Chipped but never thrown away, a man keeps what matters, I thought again. And for the first time in 4 days, I finally believed that everything under my roof was going to be okay.